Let's get started. My name is Richard Burton. I serve on the board of Coffee Strong. Happy to be here and help support this event. I wanted to just kind of quickly explain the idea for today. We're going to have this opportunity for media and general information, and then we will make our way to Freedom Bridge, where we hope to raise awareness about this important issue with all of the people driving in their holiday traffic. Our first speaker today is Sarah Blum, who is the author of a book on this very important topic, Women Under Fire, and she's a longtime activist on this issue as well. So please welcome Sarah Blum.
I'm glad that you're all here. We need all the support we can get for this topic. It's not an easy one. So I'm going to give it to you straight. There is a culture of abuse toward women in the military. It's been going on for decades, and it's been destroying the health, lives, and careers of valuable women soldiers. It's also undermining morale in the military. Sexual assault, harassment, and rape have escalated in recent years. I don't know if you've noticed, there are 26,000 a year now, 71 per day. Every 20 minutes, one of our valuable service members is being sexually assaulted. And rape by soldiers, commanders, doctors, and gang rape of our women in military must be stopped. I've read everything there is to read about this subject since 2006, and I've interviewed 60 women veterans from World War II all the way up to current day, Christina more current. And over in their stories, they told me that if they report sexual assault, or if someone else reports it on their behalf, they are punished harshly. And the perpetrators are protected, promoted, and permitted to continue their abusive language and behavior unimpeded. Victims, what happens to them? They are ostracized, they're isolated, they're kept away from all support, they're publicly humiliated. And 62% of the women who report sexual assault are retaliated against severely. There are women who are assaulted so badly they need medical care, and their military corps prevents them from having the medical care that they need when they need it. They're taken out of positions that they have earned. They're put in little hidey holes in the basement of buildings filled with mold so that they're far away from any human contact. They're put on trash details. They're demeaned and diminished in multiple ways. 95% of these sexual assaults are perpetrated by serial rapists and repeat offenders. The military response has been completely inadequate and has engendered even more crime. In 2012, there was a 35% increase in sexual assaults, and then in 2013, it went up to 50%, 50%. When a rapist does confess, it does not come out of that 95%. It comes out of the balance, the 5% who are not serial rapists and not repeat offenders. Our military, when somebody does confess, they ignore that confession and instead they charge the woman with making false statements. Because women are so demeaned and so diminished, in our military are considered government property, there is no justice for them. Men in the military are given a sense of entitlement that they can take what they want from whomever they want, whenever they want. And the leadership in the military has turned a blind eye to all that's happening. Today, there is more rhetoric. You see more of the military saying that they're going to do this or they're going to do that. But I talked to a young woman from the Washington National Guard just this past week, and she told me about the sexual harassment that she's experiencing from the very person who is supposed to be helping deal with this situation. It's the person in charge of the sexual assault response coordinator team who is sexually harassing her. So if the leadership in any or all branches of our military truly taught respect for women and meant zero tolerance for sexual assault, women would not be perceived and treated in such disgusting ways. So this problem, this cultural abuse toward women in the military, is so pervasive that it has to be dealt with. And that's the purpose of this rally, and that's also the purpose of my book. It's called Women Under Fire, Abuse in the Military. And it took 7 years to come to fruition. And the stories of many of the women that I interviewed are in the book. And if anybody's interested, I do have some books with me. So I think that it's time for us and Congress to fully investigate what's happening in this abuse culture, clean house, and begin anew with appropriate policies and actions that restore honor, integrity, and accountability to our military and justice to women serving. So there are 4 specific things that need to happen, and we're hoping that this rally is going to bring attention to this problem, and we will get people interested enough to educate themselves. They can educate themselves. There are a lot of things written. They can read my book. They can also go on the website, womenunderfire.net. There's a lot of information. There are a lot of resources. And it tells you specifically what you can do when you call your congressman or your senator, what to tell them. And so here are the 4 things. They need to hold offenders accountable. They're not doing that now. They can punish criminal behavior. They're not doing that now. They can get rid of the criminal element in the military because in 2003, when George Bush opened wide the doors to criminal, they came in because they'd rather be in the military where there's a target-rich environment than in jail. So they need to get rid of the criminal element in the military, and they need to take reporting out of the chain of command, because as long as a woman has to go through the chain of command when she's sexually assaulted, she's at risk, because it's usually someone in the chain of command that raped her or is covering up for that rape. So we are shortly going to be going out to the bridge, and we're going to be holding our signs, and we're going to be getting public attention for this problem. And remember that many of these women that were sexually assaulted, they are unable to speak. They're not able to be here. They're unable to do what we can do. So we need to be their voice. We need to be their voice, and we need to let people know that this is happening to them and it has to stop. So that's what we're doing when we're out on the bridge with our signs. That's what we're doing. So hold these women in your hearts and minds. Remember that you are their voice when we go out there. And we're going to educate the public and inspire them to take the action so that we can end this culture of abuse.
Our next speaker is Representative Tammy Green, also a candidate for the state senate here in the 28th Legislative District.
Well, I didn't know I was speaking, but never give a politician a microphone, right? So, welcome to the 28th Legislative District. The entire JBLM complex is in my district. I've lived here for more than 25 years. I was actually a military Air Force kid growing up. So, and then my husband also served 10 years in the Air Force also. And my father-in-law actually was retired Army, and then worked out at Madigan as an LPN for a lot of years. So I have a lot of military roots in my background. I represent JBLM, so whether the folks that serve there or not are registered to vote in our state, which some are, but most are not, I'm still their voice. So it's really important to me that we get this message out. Because any woman that's being abused, whether they're a registered voter in the state of Washington or not, that's my people, my peeps. And I want to make sure that they have an environment that's safe to work in. I think that the military culture of violence against women is just a subset of the culture of violence against women in our country. We have it everywhere. In my profession, in the nursing profession, I could tell you stories too. We don't talk about it much, and it's changed over time as women have been able to stand up and speak out. So whatever I can do in the state legislature to help with the 4 points that were brought to us, I want to be able to do that. I really do believe that, probably the greatest majority of our soldiers have the best of intentions and do a great job to serve us, and what we have to do is weed out this little element of folks that are creating havoc with women. Nowhere in our country should women feel like they can't get medical treatment, or that no one will listen to them or prosecute their perpetrator when they're assaulted. It's just not acceptable, and it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't. We can change it. And so today we're taking a small step to make that change, and we'll keep taking small steps till we get to the end of the journey, right? It took you 7 years to get the book. I'm excited to read it. So anyway, that's all I have to say. The 28th is a great place. If you look around Tillicum, it used to be not as nice as it is now. But we've been able to invest a lot of state money here and try to make it better and get the criminal element out of here. And it's now a place where we can have an event like this and not worry that we're going to be safe. So I hope that everyone will pay attention and go fight win, right? Sure.
Who has oversight of the Washington National Guard?
The governor. So if there's a National Guard issue that's a little bit closer to home, we might be able to do something, and I'm happy to talk with you about that.
Next speaker is Dennis Mills, longtime activist and working here at Coffee Strong.
Along with Mark Fleming, we serve as independent accredited VA claims agents to help veterans. We help veterans to file for their VA claims. And one of the things that Mark and I have come across are women who come here for a benefit claim of PTSD, but we find that it's secondary to the military sexual trauma they have experienced, the MST. And what you've heard from others is it's very difficult trying to find a service connection for an injury, particularly when it's MST. And that's one of the things that Mark and I do as claims agents, is help them find the information, whether they reported the incident and received medical attention, or they reported it to a friend or a significant other, and they will back it up with a statement, a buddy statement. And so we help them get that information, plus find an accredited source who will say, yes, you do have PTSD today, and most likely it is related to your service connection. And we have probably helped 4 or 5 veterans now. And part of the problem is women veterans, when they do report an incident, often the person they reported it to becomes a perpetrator as well. And then they find no recourse other than to go AWOL or absent without leave. And therefore, they land up getting a less than honorable discharge. So one of the things that Coffee Strong works for is discharge upgrade. So we have a specialist working on that particular area who shows why did they get a less than honorable discharge, and how can we help change that discharge paper so that they can file for the information. Coffee Strong is one of those places that veterans can come in and they can get the information that they need. We don't tell them what they need to do. We say, here are your options, and we will help you with the choices that you make. We thank you for your support for the women veterans who unfortunately have to deal with military sexual trauma, and for other veterans who have issues who come here and find help. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our media event, and at this point we'll kind of pack up and make our way over to the bridge to begin the more public part of what we're